Hello, Wayne Hills parents. Welcome to the Teen Stress and Anxiety During Distance Learning workshop. Today we're going to be talking about teen stress and anxiety during distance learning, and I hope that you enjoy this and learn something from it. So what we'll cover is this, the relationship between stress and anxiety, what stress looks like in high school students. We're going to be talking about you and self-care for you and why that's important. We're going to be talking about helping your children cope, helping them succeed with distance learning, and some warning signs and resources. So if you look at the chart, this is what we look at when we see the relationship between stress and anxiety. Here is the life event. Something happens. So the response to it can be neutral, which results in no stress at all. The response to it can be good, which can result in stress. It can be managed. It ends up with no stress. The life event can be good. There's always stress, even if it's good. It cannot be managed. It can lead to anxiety. It can be managed, and then there's no anxiety. Or we can have it be not managed, and then you can have an anxiety disorder. Or the life event can be viewed as bad, which also leads to stress. If it's not managed, it turns into anxiety. When we manage the anxiety, no more anxiety. So we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of trauma. We're going to view the pandemic as the trauma that we're dealing with, and of course there are other traumas that people deal with all the time as well. When we don't experience trauma, we're in control, we're safe, the world is meaningful, and we kind of are disassociated from it. It can't possibly happen to me. When we are experiencing trauma, we feel like we're not in control, we're not safe, the world stops being meaningful. And then there's that fear that, this actually can happen to me or to someone I love. So all of that can lead to stress. And remember, the stress is what could possibly lead to the anxiety. So what does stress look like? Here are some symptoms of stress. These are things that can happen, and we may have experienced them ourselves, and maybe you've experienced one, or maybe even all of them. But if you look at the list, I don't have to read everything out loud to you, but it should look pretty familiar to most of us. In high school students, stress manifests a little bit differently. Especially right now, they might be feeling that they've been robbed of high school or college activities. A lot of kids who started college, excuse me, last year, are sitting at home in their, bedrooms that they've grown up in, and they're doing online classes, and they may feel like they've been robbed of things. Athletes, right now, I know that we're having sports, but I know at the end of the year last year we didn't, and what happens moving forward, I don't know, but a lot of athletes may have felt like they lost a lot. It can be overwhelming, the lack of socialization, the exercise, their peers, etc. It can be very, very difficult for them. A lot of people have lost jobs and maybe have had to move even, so that becomes a reality for children as well. This is a big one right here, feeling a loss of identity. Kids define themselves by their peers and their activities, and the absence of these might make them feel just a little bit lost. They might be worrying into the future, thinking of how this is going to affect them moving forward. Maybe if you have a child who's a senior, they're worried about how this is going to affect their college. This is, brand new territory. We don't really have a lot of answers for, whether this is going to affect something in a particular way or not. Your child may be having trouble concentrating. Your child may have low motivation. All of this is a normal response to the stress that we're experiencing. So if you see this in your children, it's not something that's unexpected. So when you're looking at your child and you're seeing that they're going through a really, really, really difficult time, as parents, the first thing that we do is we have to fix it. We have to make it better. We have to do all of these things for it. But until you care for yourself and make sure that you are calm and you are in a safe space, it's going to be really difficult to convince your kids that they should be too. So that's why we included the idea of self-care for parents. Your children need to see that you feel safe. So what are some things that you can do to make them see that you are safe as well? So Here are some really great ideas for practicing some self-care. Exercise, eat well, use mindfulness tools, connect with people, don't isolate yourself, definitely limit the news and the media. You could read through these are really great ideas. I do want to show you this. So these are some great self-care questions, just to make sure that you are actually taking care of yourself. So you can ask yourself these on a daily basis. How am I moving my body? How am I getting outside? How am I expressing my creativity? What am I grateful for today? These are really wonderful tools. And if you'd like a copy of these, please reach out to me. I'd be glad to send them to you. Okay. I like this also. Don't try to fix or control things. So this is just a nice visual about things that you can't control and things that you can control. Again, if you'd like a copy, please feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to share it. So now that you've taken care of yourself, it's time to help your children cope. So these are very important things to remember when helping your children cope. Number one, the most important thing, on a good day, adolescents have a heightened reactivity to stress. So that's on a good day. So, you add in COVID and you add in the craziness of the world now, and it's going to be even more heightened than that. You have to remember that for the most part, except for some few days here and there, their peers who are their buffers for stress are not there in the same way. They're not spending as much time with them, and they're not as accessible. So it's going to exacerbate things. When Number three, when your child goes off to school, they might have this illusion that they are independent and autonomous, and all of a sudden they're not really going off to school so much anymore. So that independence and autonomy, or that illusion of it anyway, is gone, and they may feel frustrated and even angry at you for it. Number four, they are so tuned in to what you're thinking and feeling. If you are stressed, you don't have to say it. They will absolutely know it, which is why, again, you go back to the self-care for parents. And number five, you may think that they're being distracted by being on the computer all day long. That's terrible distraction. And real distractions may be difficult for them to find because they really haven't had to up until now. For the most part, kids keep themselves pretty busy with a lot of activities and school and homework. So what do they need? How can we help them? Number one, help them with adjusting to the new routine. Don't just assume that they're going to fall into it by themselves. They need more guidance and structure than you think they might. So make sure that you give suggestions and maybe lay out a schedule with their assistance and help them become adjusted to the routine. Number two, definitely limit exposure to the news. If you already have a child who has anxiety, the news is not helping. And knowing the news every day is not going to change things about the news. It's just going to change things in your level of anxiety for yourself as well. Number three, which I kind of indicated a little bit before, is let them be a part of making the plans and problem solving. So if you're helping them adjust to the new routine, they need to be a part of this. They need to feel like they have some agency in their lives because so much of it has just disappeared. Number four, everything is different right now. Try to be reasonable and flexible with your expectations. If something isn't working, take a step back, reassess, include them in making these plans and problem solving, and just be flexible with those expectations. And number five, use the path of least resistance. And that doesn't mean, don't be a parent. It just means that sometimes we push and we say no. And if you really examine your thoughts about it, it's not really a necessary thing to say that no. So definitely look at all five of these things and try to engage with those. So how do you set the tone? Um, you know, in order to help your children cope, that first thing is to calm yourself down. Just calm yourself down. You cannot help somebody else if you haven't helped yourself. It's the thing about being in the airplane when they're trying to show you how to use the oxygen masks, and what is it that they say to you? they say put your own on before you help somebody else. So this is the same. This is the oxygen mask for dealing with the stress and anxiety of these times. Um, that second one, change perspective, is so important. It's the cup half full, cup half empty thing. You're not stuck at home, you're safe at home. So think about a different way to think about this. Look at it from a different perspective. And when you do it, it's so much easier to help your child do it. Um, Create schedules and routines. We talked about that. Try to create some family time, eat meals together. We're kind of stuck in this a lot right now. So give them comfort, give them encouraging words. Make sure that they ease up on the social media. That's just a good rule any day. And the video games, also a good rule any day. Reassure them that they're safe, reassure them that they're loved, and everybody's doing everything to keep themselves safe. You could create a daily check-in, just, quick, how's everybody doing? You good? All right. Awesome. Everybody have a nice day? Awesome. I know, I remember reading about Michelle Obama years ago and how they used to do this thing at dinner called Roses and Thorns, which meant that everybody would go around the table at dinner, and the roses would be the nice things that happened that day, and the thorns would be the not so nice things that happened that day. So everybody would get a chance to kind of let loose and let go of that stuff, which I think is a really nice idea. If they're having a hard time, reassure them that it's normal to be having a hard time. Reassure them that everything will be okay. This is real. This is stress. This is weird. This is not expected, and it's okay. It's okay. But on your part, don't overestimate or underestimate the dangers. Try to be realistic without being terrifying. Help them reduce the isolations. It's a little bit easier to do it right now because we're out and about a little bit more. Make sure that they're seeing people. Make sure that they're staying physically active. Make sure that they're not on the computer too much. Make sure that you create the structure and use this time to deepen the connections that you have with each other. These are some great things to use to have your kids start talking to you. This is just good in general. Ask open-ended questions. Don't ask how was school today. What's the answer to how was school today? Good. Nobody wants that answer. You can ask something more specific, like what was the most interesting thing you learned in school today? Of course, then they might say nothing, but a more open-ended question can open the path to a bigger and better discussion. Walk with your child. Walking is amazing. You don't have to establish eye contact, and for some reason, it just opens the path to talking so much more. Same with driving. Everybody's eyes are, right ahead of them. You don't have to establish eye contact. I know that the most intense conversations I've ever had with my own children were in a car or on a walk. So, it's a good thing to do and to open up those lines of communications. These are some specific questions you can ask, in terms of coronavirus, but just gives you an idea of, moving forward with asking these kinds of questions in general. Express gratitude, tell them you love them, listen carefully. These are all incredibly important things. So these are very specific tools that you can teach your child. You can talk to them about relaxation breathing or mindfulness. You can engage in creative endeavors. Again, if you do it, it's a lot easier to convince them to do it. I want to show you this one because the daily self-care questions and the control thing are the same for both of them. But the journal writing, these are great prompts. And again, if you want me to share them, please reach out. I will be glad to. I'll just read Movement Toward Joy Part 2. Who in my immediate present circle seems most in need of joy? What may I do to increase their joy? What may I do to add to the joyfulness of all others around me? How may I add joy to the lives of the people from whom I am physically distanced at present? So using these kinds of journal prompts, just to get them thinking and writing. And the journal prompts themselves encourage coming out of yourself to do things for other people, which is a really, really positive, good thing to do on any day. So, in terms of distance learning, everybody seems to be having a little bit of a hard time with that. But stay realistic, adjust expectations about school performance, make sure that you have structure in your house, set little goals. So, if your child is having trouble completing a gigantic assignment, don't do the gigantic assignment. Break it up into little parts and do the little parts of it. Make sure that your child and you are getting enough sleep. Make sure that you reward their efforts when you see them trying. If they don't feel like they're being acknowledged even for trying, it's going to be difficult for them to continue. Make sure that you talk to your child about the things that you're doing and see if they're finding it helpful too. And always involve the school if you need to. If your child is just disregarding your directions, understand that it's not a desire to be oppositional as much as it's a response to stress. Develop a safe place where your child can go to relax during stressful times. Those relaxation techniques really, really, really work. And don't use every single moment of the day to discuss stressful and uncomfortable topics. Pick a time, pick a place, 20 minutes in the kitchen at 7 o'clock. And then after that, that's it. We're not going to be talking about it anymore. That way, it doesn't feel like, to the children that they're always being attacked. So, what we talked about up until now was basically normal stress, but now we're going to be talking about when it gets to an anxiety disorder, when we're looking at being a little bit more concerned. So these are some cues that if you see them, please call 911. If it's at that point, please reach out to somebody. If you just want to talk it through, reach out to one of the counselors. We'd be glad to, help you figure out where your child is at with this. But, if your child is having intrusive and fearful thoughts or detachment or hopelessness or, disorientation, any of these things, I would say that the best bet is to speak with a doctor and, possibly call 911. So what we have here are really wonderful resources. We have the suicide prevention hotline. We have New Jersey mental health cares. All of these things are really wonderful. Text hello to 741-741 is great. It's a text chat line. These are just wonderful. And again, if you want them, please write them down or, just reach out to us and we'll help you out. These are immediate response resources. If there's something going on right in the moment that you need help with, these are really great resources that will help you right in that moment. The Passaic Children's Mobile Response Unit will bring crisis services to your home within an hour of notification. These are more immediate response services. Again, if you need them, write them down, revisit this, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help. And these are just general resources. Mental Health Association, Passaic County, 211 is great. You just dial 211, ask them a question. They'll tell you where you can get the help. Again, if you need these, reach out. I'll help you. And we also have this wonderful tool called calm.com. And if you use the username kvenetiacrilli at wayneschools.com and password Wayne Hills, you will have access to all of calm.com with meditation resources. It's a really, really great service. So the good news, and that's where we want to end this, is that we are certainly not the first to endure difficult times. We're not going to be the last. Growing up on a good day is difficult, but we have to remember that we are not the first people to go through difficult times. We are not the first people to have struggles. There have been generations and generations of people before us who've made it through, people who survived, the Depression or the Holocaust or any number of difficulties that individuals have survived, and they've survived. So we have to look at what they've taught us and what we can learn from them so that we can teach that to our children too. We can use this time to panic. We can use this time to have that anxiety, or we can choose to use this time to learn how to become more resilient and more strong. Being a courageous parent creates courageous children. And remembering this could be our gift to our future. when we work with ourselves and make ourselves courageous, and we work with our children and make them feel courageous too, we help to create a future with confident young adults. And they know how to cope, and they know how to deal, and they know how to be resilient. So again, it's just this is a time when we can use the positive things we have inside of us to make even more good. I like to think of the Japanese art of kintsugi, and what it is when a pot breaks, it's repaired with gold, silver, or platinum. And you can see the picture to the left. It highlights the broken parts, and doesn't disguise them or throw them away. It honors the beauty and the perfection of hardship. It honors imperfection. So, when you think about that, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be everything. But there's beauty in that because we're human. And, I hope that's something that we take away from this. We are here for you. If you need to reach out, I hope that you got something from this presentation. I certainly love speaking with you. I miss speaking with all of you directly, but I'm glad to be able to do this regardless. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.